Ulyanov discusses Far God outposts. Exotheologian Dr. Alfred Ulyanov has commented on the abandoned Far God outposts recently discovered in the Etane system. This fascinating discovery implies that the missing chapters of the Far God sect were not arrested or killed, but instead fled to secret outposts to avoid persecution. According to personal logs recovered from the sites, the sect's members plan to wait in suspended animation for the coming of the Far God. The logs also reveal surprising details about what motivated these individuals to devote themselves to the faith. Evidence suggests that the settlements on Etane 4A and 4C both came under attack, but whether by Thargoids or human forces is unclear. Mysteriously, no trace remains of the inhabitants. I am indebted to the explorers who discovered these sites. This information will significantly contribute to the book I am co-writing with Getino Okonkwo about the Far God religion. Week in Review. Here are this week's major stories. Admiral Frederick Yamamoto has been announced as the 6th member of the Alliance Council of Admirals. The position had been vacant for months after the previous appointment. Riri McAllister was discovered to be the coordinator of terrorist group the League of Reparation. The decision has ruffled some feathers, not least because Admiral Yamamoto is a close personal friend of President Gibson Kincaid. The Mars Tribune has been closed and its owner arrested in the wake of the spy robot scandal. The announcement was made by Detective Captain Ramesh Thorne, who was recently reinstated to, and promoted by, the Federal Security Service. Thorne assured the public that the surveillance program installed in some Achilles Corporation PA-912 robots had been removed. In other news, the Sirius Corporation has responded to the revelation that members of its private fleet conducted a mercenary raid on the Min system. Lee Yong-rui, CEO of Sirius Corp, confirmed that a cabal of junior officers had orchestrated an illegal operation to gain access to Phoenix Base. The officers now face multiple charges. Isolationist group Nova Imperium has declared its intention to install a new emperor. The group's leader, recently identified as ex-Navy Admiral Duke Caso Mordanticus and known as the Imperator, said that the superpower had been weakened by collaborating with its enemies, and that the new emperor would restore the glory of the empire. Meanwhile, a long-standing rivalry between two factions in the Loha system has erupted into full-scale conflict. Relations were already strained when Loha Holdings accused its rivals of hijacking transport ships and murdering their crews. After the new Loha party claimed this was a false flag operation designed to discredit them, diplomacy was replaced by weapons fire. Since neither side has an extensive fleet, both have appealed for support. Finally, a spokesperson for Olelbis Holdings has announced that its appeal for commodities has reached a successful conclusion. Hundreds of pilots supported the campaign by delivering goods to Polyakov Orbital, and by eliminating agitators in Olelbis, thereby ensuring the safety of traders. And those are the main stories this week. Nova Imperium demands new emperor. Isolationist group Nova Imperium has declared its intention to install a new emperor. The group's leader, recently identified as ex-Navy Admiral Duke Caso Mordanticus and known as the Imperator, said, "The Empire has been weakened by collaborating with its enemies. Aegis drains our resources to protect foreign systems from the Thargoids. Our security forces are stretched thin defending non-imperial systems, and Princess Deval sullies her honorable name by dallying with a federal libertine. Our people demand stronger leadership. We will achieve this by installing a new emperor, one who will restore the glory of the Empire." Political journalist Cassia Carvalho commented in the Imperial Herald. Naturally there has been no response from Arissa Lavigny Deval. But for many citizens, Mordanticus has articulated their unease about inter-superpower cooperation, with support for Nova Imperium increasing rapidly. Flight assist off. A silent minority may now have found a voice. Flight assist on. Sirius arrests rogue officers. The Sirius Corporation has responded to the revelation that members of its private fleet coordinated a mercenary raid on the Min system. Lee Yong-rui, CEO of Sirius Corp, told the media, "Following a thorough inquiry, we have confirmed that a cabal of junior officers, with the aid of mercenaries, orchestrated an illegal operation to gain access to Phoenix Base. Although their intentions remain unclear, I can confirm they were acting purely in their own interests, and without official knowledge. The rogue officers, including those extradited into our custody by the Mien Defense Force, now face multiple charges, and could be imprisoned for life. I would like to express my sincere regret over this incident, and to personally apologize to Ramtar. I continue to hope that we can work together on further Guardian human technology. Hostilities erupt in Loha system. A long-standing rivalry between two factions in the Loha system has erupted into full-scale conflict. The commencement of hostilities was announced on the Vox Galactica news service by Carleen Troy, a freelance Warzone reporter. Relations were already strained when Loha Holdings accused its rivals of hijacking transport ships and murdering their crews. After the new Loha party claimed this was a false flag operation designed to discredit them, diplomacy was rapidly replaced by weapons fire. Since neither side has an extensive fleet, both Loha Holdings and the new Loha party have appealed for support. I've received word that they're offering substantial rewards to independent combat pilots who can aid them in this conflict. The two factions have set out week-long operations to take control of the system, which will begin on the 22nd of November 3304. Olelbis Holdings' appeal concludes. A spokesperson for Olelbis Holdings has announced that its appeal for commodities has reached a successful conclusion. Hundreds of pilots supported the campaign by delivering goods to Polyakov Orbital, and by eliminating agitators in Olelbis, thereby ensuring the safety of traders.
Flight assist off.
Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their rewards from Polyakov Orbital in the Olelbis system. Mars Tribune closes.
Flight assist on.
The Mars Tribune has been closed and its owner arrested in the wake of the spy robot scandal. The announcement was made by Detective Captain Ramesh Thorne, who was recently reinstated to, and promoted by, the Federal Security Service. Kingsley Cordova, editor Lana Seagreed and other employees of the Mars Tribune have been arrested for blackmail and corruption. The news feed has been permanently dissolved, and the Cordova Group conglomerate subjected to a government audit. I would like to thank the anonymous whistleblower who exposed Cordova's scheme. She has now removed the surveillance program from all Achilles Corporation PA-912 robots in exchange for immunity from prosecution. Chief Editor Lena Ravenhill wrote in the Federal Times, "The Mars Tribune abandoned its professional ethics in its hunt for salacious headlines, thereby undermining the role of honest journalism in our society. We are relieved to see justice done." New appointment to Council of Admirals. Admiral Frederick Yamamoto has been announced as the sixth member of the Alliance Council of Admirals. The position had been vacant for months after the previous appointment, Riri McAllister, was discovered to be the coordinator of terrorist group the League of Reparation. The induction ceremony was conducted by Fleet Admiral Haley Sorokin, who said, "After many years commanding the Alliance Defense Force in the Zounce system, Admiral Yamamoto has more than earned his place on the Council. His experience will help enhance security for all member systems." Vanya Driscoll, political journalist at the Alliance Tribune, commented, "Many expected the role to be filled by an officer from the Lathe Fleet, rather than Zounce, so the decision has ruffled some feathers. It has also not gone unnoticed that Admiral Yamamoto is a close personal friend of President Gibson Kincaid." Week in Review. Here are this week's major stories. Elite Imperial Internal Security Service report on Nova Imperium has revealed that the group's leader is one Duke Caso Mordanticus, a former naval admiral from a long line of decorated veterans. The report reveals that Mordanticus still has contacts and influence in the Imperial Navy, and that Nova Imperium's ships are mostly run by ex-naval crews. Meanwhile, an Achilles Corporation engineer who helped design the robots at the heart of the spy robot scandal has given evidence to former FSS Inspector Ramesh Thorne. The engineer claims she was blackmailed by Kingsley Cordova, owner of the Mars Tribune, into installing surveillance programs on PA-912 administration robots. All the affected robots have now been made safe. In other news, the independent HIP 29241 Green Party operation to recover escape pods in the main system has reached a successful conclusion. The captured mercenaries were interrogated by the Mien Defense Force, leading to the realization that several of them were junior officers in Sirius Corps' private fleet. The engineer Antar, who operates from Phoenix Base in the Mean System, has claimed that Sirius is trying to obtain his research by force.
4, 3, 2.
The Sirius Corporation has refuted any allegations of criminal activity. Popular author Olav Redcourt, who was recently reported missing, has been found alive and well at a writer's retreat at a remote outpost. The writer is apparently hard at work on his new book, a science fiction novel. Finally, Olelbis Holdings, an organization based in the Olelbis system, has announced an elaborate social function at Polyakov Orbital, the faction's base of operations. In support of this event, Olelbis Holdings has placed an open order for various rare commodities, and has pledged to reward pilots who deliver these commodities to Polyakov Orbital in the Olelbis system.
Scooping complete.
And those are the main stories this week. Olav Redcourt found. Popular author Olav Redcourt, who was recently reported missing, has been found alive and well. Margot Hist of the Dervish Foss Literary Agency told the media, "I can reassure Olav's fans that he is in good health, and has checked into a writer's retreat at a remote outpost. I can also reassure Burnspire Publishing that he will soon pay their fees for contractual breach, having sold most of his belongings." Olav is currently hard at work on his new science fiction novel, despite my attempts to convince him to choose a more popular genre. When asked why these facts were not made public sooner, Miss Hist replied, "Unfortunately, I didn't know there was concern about Olav's whereabouts until I returned from holiday. There are no communication facilities at Skyglow Havens on the Ria Archipelago." Connection to Sirius Corp uncovered. A link has been established between the mercenary group recently intercepted in the Mean System and the Sirius Corporation. Security Chief Harper Vergas of the Mean Defense Force said, "With the vital assistance of the galactic community, we were able to apprehend several of the mercenaries. Interrogations revealed that a number of them were in fact junior officers in Sirius Corps' private fleet. Other mercenaries confirmed that the attack was funded and organized by these individuals, which raises the question of why Sirius should be involved with this criminal enterprise." The engineer Amtar, who operates from Phoenix Base in the Mean System, commented, "Did Sirius really think it could obtain my research by force? Or was this an attempt to scare me into accepting Li Yongrui's offer?" A spokesperson for the Sirius Corporation refuted any allegations of criminal activity, and insisted there would be a full inquiry. Olelbis Holdings appeal. Olelbis Holdings, an organization based in the Olelbis system, has announced an elaborate social function at Polyakov Orbital, the faction's base of operations. In support of this event, Olelbis Holdings has placed an open order for quantities of Duringa's truffles, Mokojing Beast Feast, and Mulachi Giant Fungus, and has pledged to reward pilots who deliver these commodities to Polyakov Orbital in the Olelbis system. The organization has also placed a kill order on all ships on its wanted list, to ensure that those contributing commodities to the campaign can do so safely. The campaign begins on the 15th November 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Escape pod recovery complete. The independent HIP 29241 Green Party has announced that its appeal to recover escape pods has been enthusiastically received by the galactic community. Hundreds of pilots supported the initiative by delivering pods to Felistock, and by protecting contributing ships in the Mean System. Security Chief Harper Vergas of the Mean Defense Force gave the following statement. "We have recovered a number of key figures within the mercenary group, and interrogations are underway. We will share more information when we have it. Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their rewards from Felistock, in the Mean System." Cordova Group linked to spy robots. The Federal Times has revealed a connection between the Cordova Group and the spy robots scandal. Chief editor Lena Ravenhill wrote, "Ramesh Thorne's recent appeal elicited a response from an anonymous whistleblower, a robotics engineer employed by the Achilles Corporation who helped design the robots at the heart of these events. The engineer has attested that she was blackmailed by Kingsley Cordova, owner of the Mars Tribune, into installing surveillance programs on robots belonging to well-known people in the Sol system. The accumulated data was relayed to the Cordova Group, which published it in the Mars Tribune." A spokesperson for the Achilles Corporation said, The engineer has provided us with a kill switch that remotely deletes the spy program she designed. This coreware update has now been transmitted to all PA912 model robots. We can therefore assure our customers that there is no longer any risk of their private information being misused. Report on Nova Imperium leaked. A report compiled by the Imperial Internal Security Service on isolationist group Nova Imperium has been leaked. The Rewired News Service broadcast the report in full. This document compiles our latest intelligence on Nova Imperium, as requested. Although the group has not yet committed any crimes, its threat potential should not be underestimated. Its isolationist message resonates with those fearful of the Argoid invasion, and its rallying cry of empire for the Imperials aligns with the more conservative citizenry. We have identified the group's leader, the Imperator, as Duke Caesar Mordanticus, a former naval admiral from a long line of decorated veterans. Evidence suggests that Mordanticus still has contacts and influence in the Imperial Navy. Nova Imperium's ships are mostly run by ex-naval crews, bound by loyalty to their former commanding officer. We will continue to monitor Nova Imperium and report on any developments. Famous author missing. The family and colleagues of author Olav Redcourt have reported him missing. A police investigation has so far failed to determine his whereabouts. Redcourt recently hit the headlines when he terminated his relationship with his publisher, Bone Spire Publishing, midway through a promotional tour. In the wake of the author's disappearance, Bone Spire released the following statement. We can only assume that Mr. Redcourt is trying to avoid paying his fine for contract violation, which runs to several million credits. Of course, should he agree to continue writing the best-selling Corsair King series, we would be happy to waive the damages. Literary critic Kalisha offered an alternative explanation. Obsessive readers of the Corsair King series have sent death threats to Redcourt for not delivering exactly what they wanted. Now that he's turned his back on the series, might he have been kidnapped by a rabid fan and forced to write more novels, or even murdered as an act of revenge? Week in Review. Here are this week's major stories. A mercenary group has been intercepted by security forces in the main system. It is understood that the mercenaries' primary target was Phoenix Base, home of the engineer Ramtar. Li Yongrui, CEO of Sirius Corporation, said the attack demonstrated the precariousness of Ramtar's situation. In related news, security forces in Min are launching an operation to capture enemy agents. Security Chief Harper Vergast said his forces intended to detain any surviving mercenaries and interrogate them, so they could identify the individuals behind the incursion. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Inspector Ramesh Thorne, who has been leading an investigation into the Mars Tribune, has been suspended from the Federal Security Service. The news came less than an hour after Thorne made a public appeal for information regarding admin robots fitted with secret surveillance programs, citing the unwillingness of his superiors to pursue the matter. The isolationist group Nova Imperium has broadcast a message to Imperial citizens. The organization's leader, known only as the Imperator, implicitly criticized Emperor Aris Alavini Deval for weakness, and said that the Empire would only survive the Thargoid onslaught by severing ties with the other superpowers. The family and colleagues of author Olav Redcourt have reported him missing. A police investigation has so far failed to determine his whereabouts. Redcourt recently hit the headlines when he terminated his relationship with his publisher, Bone Spire Publishing, midway through a promotional tour. Finally, authorities in the Geras system have confirmed that the conflict between Geras First and Nuduzin State Incorporated has come to an end. Both factions received support from independent combat pilots, to whom generous rewards were promised, but in the end there could be only one victor. And those are the main stories this week. A warning from the Imperator. The isolationist group Nova Imperium has broadcast a message to Imperial citizens via public media. The organization's leader, known only as the Imperator, said, "Imperial citizens, your ruler's weakness has put you in great danger. If we are to survive the Thargoid onslaught, we must sever ties with the Federation and other, inferior powers, and concentrate on protecting our own systems. I call upon those who care about their Imperial birthright to support Nova Imperium. We vow to restore the Empire's purity and strength, and to lead it into a glorious future." Senator Denton Patrias responded with the following comment. These extremists and their seditious agenda are not worthy of attention. So far we have been lenient with them, but this so-called Imperator would be wise not to test our patience any further. Conflict in Geras ends. Authorities in the Geras system have confirmed that the conflict between Geras First and Nuduzin State Incorporated has come to an end. Both factions received support from independent combat pilots, to whom generous rewards were promised, but in the end there could be only one victor. Independent journalist Donal Varden offered an analysis. After a week of furious fighting, the Geras system is now eerily quiet. Ultimately only one side could be victorious, but this uneasy peace has come at a great and dreadful cost. Pilots who participated in the conflict can now collect their rewards from the Urchikin port, in the Geras system. Recover escape pods in Mine. Following a skirmish with a group of mercenaries, security forces in the Mine system have launched an operation to capture enemy agents in order to investigate the attack. Security Chief Harper Vergas of the Mine Defense Force gave the following statement. The mercenaries were targeting Ramtar's Phoenix base, but it's clear they were just hired hands. We need to recover as many surviving mercenaries as we can and interrogate them, so we can find the real culprits. The independent HIP 29241 Green Party, which is overseeing the initiative, has asked pilots to recover both occupied and damaged escape pods, and to deliver them to Felly stock in the Mine system. The organization has also placed a kill order on all ships on its wanted list, to ensure that those contributing to the recovery can do so safely. The campaign begins on the 8th of November 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. FSS agent suspended. Lieutenant Inspector Ramesh Thorne, who has been leading an investigation into the Mars Tribune, has been suspended from the Federal Security Service. A spokesperson for the FSS released the following statement. We have suspended Lieutenant Inspector Thorne from active duty, effective immediately. His investigation is officially terminated. The announcement came less than an hour after Thorne made the following public appeal. We have evidence that the admin robots fitted with surveillance programs are connected to exclusive stories obtained by the Mars Tribune. Since my superiors are unwilling to pursue this, I am appealing to anyone with relevant information to come forward. I can guarantee them immunity from prosecution. Many media, including Lena Ravenhill, chief editor of the Federal Times, reacted with outrage to the news. It's clear that someone in the FSS is feeling threatened, and that the Mars Tribune has used spy robots to feed the scandals it thrives on. We are highlighting Ramesh Thorne's appeal, as are many other news feeds taking a stand against corrupt journalism. Mercenary incursion in Mine. A mercenary group has been intercepted by security forces in the Mine system. Security Chief Harper Vergas of the Mine Defense Force reported. 6 hours ago, our forces were attacked by a small fleet belonging to a known mercenary group. Fortunately, we were able to defeat them before they could do serious damage. There is no doubt that the mercenaries' primary target was Phoenix Base. We suspect that this incident is connected to an attempted raid on the base that was repelled a few weeks ago. Lee Yong-rui, CEO of Sirius Corporation, addressed the incident. I'm relieved that the attack was foiled, but this only demonstrates how precarious Ramtar's situation is. I urge him to accept my offer to work with the Sirius Corporation, not only for his own safety, but also to safeguard future Guardian human technologies. Spy robot investigation redirected. The Federal Security Service has abruptly terminated its investigation of the Mars Tribune regarding personal administration robots fitted with hidden surveillance programs. Although interviews with Tribune employees were underway, it has been alleged that a senior figure in the FSS ordered the task force to focus elsewhere. The Tribune's owner, billionaire Kingsley Cordova, stated, "I'm pleased that our innocence has been accepted, and I'm confident that the guilty parties will soon be found." An opinion piece in the Federal Times from Chief Editor Lena Ravenhill took an alternative view, however. Last week, Cordova suggested the spy robots could share the many secrets they've gathered, and suddenly the FSS is ordered to leave the Mars Tribune alone. Does anyone really think this is coincidence? How many powerful people are frightened of what Cordova might reveal about them? Week in review. Here are this week's major stories. The investigation into the death of Alliance presidential candidate Fazia Silva has concluded with no convictions. Alliance Interpol confirmed that Silva's death was a homicide, but said that all avenues of investigation had been exhausted. Tashmira Silva has now assumed control of her late sister's corporate empire. A radical group called Nova Imperium is gaining influence throughout the empire. The organization claims that to survive the Thargoid conflict, the empire must sever contact with all other systems and concentrate on protecting itself. Many traditionalist citizens, unhappy with recent cross-superpower cooperation, have embraced the group's rhetoric. Meanwhile, the engineer Ramtar has rejected an offer from the Sirius Corporation to support the manufacture of Guardian human technology. In a statement, Ramtar said the technologies were too important to become corporate products, and reaffirmed that using tech brokers to distribute the designs allowed them to be widely available. In other news, the Federal Security Service has abruptly terminated its investigation of the Mars Tribune regarding personal administration robots fitted with hidden surveillance programs. It has been alleged that a senior figure in the FSS ordered the task force to focus elsewhere. Recent reports from the GeForce system indicate that after a spate of reciprocal attacks, hostilities between GeForce First and Naduzin State Incorporated have escalated into all-out war. The warring organizations have issued calls to independent combat pilots for support. Commanders who participate in the conflict will be generously rewarded by their chosen faction. Finally, Senator Caspian Leopold has announced that his appeal for aid has been enthusiastically received by the galactic community. A spokesperson for the senator said that a humanitarian crisis had been narrowly averted, while assuring refugees at Leopold's rehabilitation center that new homes would be found for each and every one of them. And those are the main stories this week. Ramtar rejects Sirius Corp. The engineer Ramtar has rejected an offer from the Sirius Corporation to support the manufacture of Guardian human technology. In a public statement, he said, "These technologies, developed using principles discovered by the Guardians, are too important to become corporate products. I have no doubt that Sirius would aim for maximum profits, rather than using the knowledge to aid humanity. Using tech brokers to distribute the designs allows them to be widely available, and thanks to the generosity of Aegis, the tech brokers' costs have been reduced, making Guardian human fighters and systems more affordable." Li Yongrui, CEO of Sirius Corporation, has stated that his offer remains open, and that he hopes Ramtar will have a change of heart. Conflict in GeForce. Recent reports from the GeForce system indicate that after a spate of reciprocal attacks, hostilities between GeForce First and Naduzin State Incorporated have escalated into all-out war. According to Donal Varden, an independent journalist, "For several months we've seen these factions sniping at one another from the shadows, but now the stakes have been raised. It won't be long before the space lanes of GeForce are littered with the burned-out shells of dead ships." The warring organizations have issued calls to independent combat pilots for support. Commanders who participate in the conflict will be generously rewarded by their chosen faction. Both factions have set out week-long operations to take control of the system, which will begin on the 1st of November 3304. Appeal for aid complete. Senator Caspian Leopold has announced that his appeal for aid, in association with the Niflhel Guardians of Tradition, has been enthusiastically received by the galactic community. Hundreds of pilots supported the initiative by delivering commodities to Biruni Port, and by protecting traders in the Niflhel system. A spokesperson for Senator Leopold made the following statement: "Thanks to the work of many brave pilots, a humanitarian crisis has been narrowly averted." Senator Leopold has expressed his gratitude to all those who contributed to the campaign, and has assured refugees at his rehabilitation center that new homes will be found for each and every one of them. Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their rewards from Biruni Port, in the Niflhel system. The rise of Nova Imperium. A radical group called Nova Imperium is gaining influence throughout the Empire. Imperial Herald journalist Cassio Carvalho highlighted the situation. Nova Imperium claims that to survive the Thargoid conflict, the Empire must sever contact with all other systems and concentrate on protecting itself. In recent months, the organization has become a genuine political force. The group's leader is known only as the Imperator. Dressed in an Imperial Navy uniform, he is a charismatic presence who speaks of a return to the honor of the old days and the glory of Achenair. Many traditionalist citizens, unhappy with recent cross-superpower cooperation, have embraced the Imperator's rhetoric. On several worlds, Nova Imperium's followers hold rallies with a distinctly martial feel. So far there has been little response from Imperial authorities, but it is clear that Nova Imperium will soon become impossible to ignore. No leads in Fazia Silva case. The investigation into the death of Alliance presidential candidate Fazia Silva has concluded. No convictions have been made. Inspector Erin Sangster of Alliance Interpol made this statement. The death of Fazia Silva has been officially ruled as homicide. The use of a sophisticated nerve toxin and the circumvention of security at Hume Orbital suggests the involvement of one or more professional assassins. Unfortunately, we have now exhausted all possible avenues of investigation, and are left with no option but to consider the case closed. President Gibson Kincaid told the media, "I have no doubt that the murder of Miss Silva was designed to disrupt our democracy, and I will not rest until the Alliance's enemies pay for their crimes." Tashmira Silva has now assumed permanent control of her late sister's corporate empire.
scoop deployed. Cargo scoop retracted. Cargo scoop deployed. scoop retracted. scoop retracted.
Scoop disengaged. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete.
Please note that access to this megaship is by authorization only. Access granted. Please dock at your designated landing pad, Commander.
assist.